All right. This time it's for SBL March June 2025 examiners report. So you must watch this session class till the end to find out what mistakes other make, and you should avoid them to pass. And after watching this video, if you have any query, this is my WhatsApp where you can contact me. Okay, so first thing first, we are skipping this general comments. We all know about them and nothing uh, special to know about it. Then here it is, pre-scene information. First, the examiner saying that pre-scene was divided into two discrete but integrated sections. The first section provided candidates with an overview of the charitable sector, in particular the heritage charity sub-sector in the fictional country of Edsia. The second section provided further background information about historic places HP established charity in the heritage charity subsector. So the pre-scene is designed and specifically to allow candidates to establish a sound understanding of the industry. Okay, so why pre-scene is designed? Here it is: to understand the industry, to get the know of the organizational context in the exam they will be taking. They should have them analyze and understand the exhibit information that is presented to them on the exam day. So candidates should get set aside time for careful reading of the pre-scene, so that they have a thorough knowledge of the content, and so they do not need to keep referring back it to the during the exam, right? So that's why my pre-scene videos are so important for you guys, even for the upcoming exam. If you haven't seen it, watch it. You should watch it. Okay, now factors to establish could include the following: whether the organization is recently formed or long established, whether the organization is a small or large, if the organization is a company, whether it is listed or unlisted, whether the organization is currently doing well or struggling, its place in the sector, including how it is responding to the developments in the sector, the resources available to the organization, and whether this appear to be sufficient. The ethical and CSR includes the organization faces, what value it has. So candidates must appreciate the pre-scene information should not be used to question spot. However, as the tasks set in the exams are not based on the information in the pre-scene, the pre-scene information is designed to assist candidates' overall understanding of the sector and the organization, but it will not itself provide a full source of exam answers. The tasks on the exam day will be focused primarily on the information contained in the exam exhibits. Candidates will be expected to use the exhibit information as the primary source for developing their answers. So, of course, some information within the pre-scene will be useful to support points, models, and answer, but candidates should not copy and paste section of the pre-scene into their answers. Candidates are expected to develop information within the pre-scene and explain, for example, its relevance to the task being attempted. Now, here was the first exhibit. Email from one of the exhibit was email from the CEO, email from the chief executive officer or the consultant about the introduction to the changes which the CEO presents at HP, summary of sites performance, numerical comparison of financial non-financial performance of two HP sites, store water through worth prepared by a member of HP finance function, summary of the shop operating procedures, fundraising blog, a blog about how charity fundraising needs to use update methods but avoid being too aggressive. So overall the standard of the answers for the March or June 25 exam was similar to those for previous exams which have used the new pre-scene format and shorter exam time. A number of issues which have been noticed in previous examiners report occurred again in this sitting. So that means students are repeating their mistakes. Now what are those? Many candidates failed to answer the question as set. This was seen in various ways, particularly in task 1A. Contextual features was the object of the requirement verb, and candidates should have organized their answers around contextual features. Instead, many answers were focused on the CEO's proposed program of the changes with contextual features discussed. Incidentally, mention of charges in the requirement also resulted in some answers discussing Levin's change process model, when careful reading of the actual requirements would have made clear that this was not required. Some candidates failed to make use of all of the information given in the exhibits. This was sometimes due to the failure to analyze the information systematically. Although candidates performed well generally in the task 2B, some scripts failed to identify clear risk relating to inventory. In many candidates, answers there was insufficient application to HP situation. In task 1C, when candidate discuss the leadership qualities required to introduce to the program of the changes successfully, the discussion of the leadership qualities were often generic and made little or no reference to the situation at HP. Likewise, answers from lacked depth explanation. Although 2 marks were available throughout the exam for developed points, candidates often had few or no such points, meaning that they had to come up with more points examining single marks in order to pass. This was particularly noticeable on task 2A, where many candidates failed to go much beyond the numerical data given and consider underlying reasons for difference in performance between the two sites. Copy and pasting pre-scene and exhibit information into answers with the little or no attempt to add value as a problem on occasions. Task 2B, candidates reproduce information from exhibit 3 but fail to derive clearly from it the risks to HP. Most candidates appear to have read the pre-scene information. They seem to have assimilated the important points in it, with the result they could use detail given in the pre-scene to provide context for their answer. So the best answers, now how are the best answers? See, the best answers demonstrated good understanding of the information available in the exhibits and pre-scene. They use as a basis for producing well-developed answers that apply to HP situation. They also demonstrated analysis situation, commercial acumen, skills across the scripts, showed skepticism where necessary, produced answers that were clear and logically structured. Now, some as this examiner report, it's just like examiner is talking to you. So that's why I'm explaining you each and everything, right? So it's the you can say it's the examiner complaints. It's the examiner who give you the analysis on your performance. So I'm telling you each and everything so that you may get remembered that either you have made such sort of a mistake or word, if though you can improve for the future. So some candidates did not appear to have read the SBL guidance articles and other resources on the ACC Global website. This including failing to consider the article on financial analysis in SBL, which would have been helpful for the task 2A, principles and applications of marketing in SBL, which would have been helpful for task 3, making use of the resources, an important part of exam preparation. So one of the blunders you guys do made, ignoring technical articles. See, and I always emphasize to my students that you should not ignore those. Now, analyzing the exhibits, the availability of the pre-seen information should mean that candidates are familiar with the context of the industry organization before the exam date. Nevertheless, they need to spend sufficient time reading and understanding additional information given in the exhibits at the start of the exam. So here the another point is not only pre-seen, exhibits are more important. Okay, now further information in the exhibit, as this will help them identify which tasks draw on which exhibit material. Candidates need to remember that material from more than one exhibit may be relevant when answering each individual task. Candidates are recommended to spend first 30 minutes of the exam analyzing the exhibit material. So at least 30 minutes only for the exhibits understanding. Now provide the material which underpins the applied points and candidates should be making. Include necessary background information, explanation to provide context to candidates' answers. Okay, help candidates to decide how to structure their answers. Highlight the most important issues that answers should cover. Okay, so always use these highlighters given in the your exam software to highlight those issues. As already suggested, some answers fail to make enough use of the material in the exhibits. However, candidates must do more than reproduce or restate material in the exhibits to score marks. They must comment on the information or develop further the points raised. Task requirements may refer directly to exhibits, meaning that the exhibits define what answers should cover, no more, no less. The requirements of task 3 refer to addressing concerns, raised in the blog exhibit 4 about unethical fundraising. These concerns were clearly identified in the section of the blog titled Raising Funds Ethically. However, candidates often did not address all the concerns raised. For example, not considering what to do about the use of the third-party fundraisers. On the other hand, some answers wasted time, gained no marks for the making suggestions about addressing concerns that were not raised in the blog, particularly threats to data from the external, hacking of HP, wasting funds donated. Now see, it's not me or any other tutor, but the examiner himself guiding you that how to plan your answers in the for the exam. See, planning candidates must spend sufficient time on planning to ensure that their answers are structured logically in line with the precise requirement of the task. Examiner's report SBL March June 25, here it is. For example, balance in terms of the depth of discussion required with the breadth and different points to be made, covering the most important points relevant to the task requirements, not padded out with material that does not address the task requirements, not making the same point two or more times. When sitting the exam, candidates may find it useful to copy and paste the task requirements into the word processor answer area. Then they then do not need to keep looking at the task tabs. Okay, this may help them to remain more focused on the task as they answer them. Any copied requirement should be deleted after the task and answer, or clearly separated from the answer. However, to ensure that they do not impact on the professionalism of the candidate's answer. So as far as the time management is concerned, most candidates were able to answer all three tasks. Wow, good. There was no significant indication that many had run out of time or stamina during this exam. This suggests many candidates are managing their time carefully. Candidates are strongly recommended to attempt mock exams under full exam conditions before the actual exam to get used to the demands on concentration, effective reading, planning, thinking and writing that the XBL exam requires. If candidates use the 30 minutes of the exam time to read and estimate the exam exhibits and tasks and produce an outline plan, this will leave 165 minutes. That means two-third of the exam to produce answer all three tasks. On this basis, two-third of hours should have been allocated in relation to the marks assigned to that each task, including professional skill marks as follows: task 1 18 marks 13 minutes, task 1B 16 marks 26 minutes, task 1C 13 minutes, task 2A 36 minutes, 2B 30 minutes, task 3 30 minutes. So adopting this approach ensures candidates have sufficient time to attempt every part of every task, thereby giving them the best chance of passing the exam. Candidates should also be aware of how time can be poorly used in the XBL exam. Wasting time by including material not asked for the actual task requirement. For example, in task 3, discussing the concerns raised about fundraising, when the requirements ask for recommendations of how the concerns could be addressed, writing elaborate and lengthy plans, resulting in too little time to produce meaningful and complete answers, making the same point more than once in a slightly different ways. Markers will not give additional marks for points which are repeated or restated, even if they are slightly reworded. Reasons for exam failure: in most cases, those candidates who failed this exam did so because of C. Now, why you failed it? Not answering the task that has been asked, wasting time by including irrelevant content, not applying the HPK scenario information to the points made, failing to develop points made, that's not fully explaining why point made was relevant, important in the context of the task, copying and pasting exhibit pre-seen information into their answers or paraphrasing it, but then failing to comment on this information or develop the answers that are task requirement, demonstrating poor analysis skills, inability to select and appropriately use irrelevant information to answer task questions, demonstrating poor level of technical knowledge. Candidates should appreciate that any area of the SBL syllabus could be examined. Failing to provide everything that the requirement specified, failing to respond to the requirements in a professional manner, demonstrating poor time allocation. So the application of the answers to the context of the HP varied and was particularly disappointing in relation to 1C. Although candidates have access to the pre-seen information in advance of the exam, some did not demonstrate understanding of the case, context, and produce answers that were well applied to HP situation. When candidates did address the requirements of a task, they generally answered the whole requirement. However, there were too many examples across the exams of candidates not focusing on answering the requirement which have been asked. This demonstrating poor exam technique and should not be expected of candidates at strategic professional level. In a professional workplace, candidates would be expected to perform the specific tasks required by their managers, and so would have to listen carefully to or read thoroughly, and instructions given the same attention should therefore be applied to the task requirements in the SBL exam. As far as the technical marks are concerned, demonstration of technical knowledge or explanation of the theory does not score marks in the SBL exam. To gain each technical mark, candidates need to make points there directly address the requirements of task, considering the concept of answers required, what they were indicated should be provided, show the marker why the beings made are significant, relevant in the context of the consider issues that were specific to the point, choices or decision detail in the task requirement. Generally up to the 2 marks are available for a well developed points made. However, candidates are reminded that 2 marks will only be awarded when the candidate successfully identifies, explains a relevant point, and then develops this point by evaluating how significant the point is, use the information provided, relates to the point directly to the organization, explain the consequences for the organization, supporting the point with relevant examples from the case material. Failure to develop point was sometimes apparent in this exam. This particularly applied to the task 1C, where even the answer discuss relevant leadership qualities failed to apply them to CEO's proposed program of the changes, where many comments on the figures provided were superficial and did not explain the underlying reasons for the level of and changes in the figures. There are appear to be less copying and pasting of the exhibit information in answers, with little or no attempt to add further ways to information. This sitting copying and pasting was most evident on 2B, where candidates reproduce information about the conditions resulting in risk but did not go on to identify what the risks were, where candidates copied in the detail about the concern raised in their blog, which was not necessarily to discuss how to address the concerns. If candidates who presented purely generic, you mean only technical or bookish knowledge, they were awarded limited marks. This sometimes occurred in answers to task 3, where e-marketing methods were described without showing how they would improve relationship with the stakeholders. Candidates must avoid producing answers that merely repeated SBL knowledge of theory without making any attempt to apply this knowledge to the exam context. They must focus instead on answering the specific task set. So professional skill marks, many candidates had clearly thought about how to earn professional skill marks and attempt to present their answers in the appropriate format as required in each task requirement. Whatever the format required by the task, the recipient will be held by the answer that is presented and structured clearly with the headers throughout the answer. Candidates should remember that they are carrying out a professional task that has a particular purpose, and in this exam acting as a senior business analyst serving the needs of the HP's management. Candidates must read the technical and professional requirements together, as this will assist them in producing their answers as asked in the correct style and the tone and with the correct level of professionalism. This was particularly important for the task 1B, where the professional skill emphasized and the need to challenge in an appropriate manner the CEO proposals. They showed that would be plenty of technical marks for giving reasons why the proposal should be inappropriate, as well as scoring professional marks. So here was the task 1. HP's newly appointed CEO has sent you an email about a number of areas which he wants you to discuss. Firstly, she is keen to implement a program of changes that focuses on maximizing HP's income, but realizes that she will only be able to do successfully if she understands the organizational issues affect the implementation of change. Okay, then prepare a report for the HP CEO which discuss the contextual features of the HP which she needs to consider when implementing her proposed program of changes. 14 marks were available for it, 2 marks per relevant point, that means 7 marks were available for it, and 4 marks for professional skills, which were including communication skills, clarifying to the CEO the contextual features she needs to consider for successful implementation of program of changes. Secondly, CEO asked for your reviews on her proposals about the remuneration and employment contracts and executive of directors before the discussion then with the trustees. Prepare an email to HPCO which discusses proposals relating to the determination of the executive directors remuneration and their employment contracts. So 12 marks. Professional skill marks are available for demonstrating skepticism skills by challenging in an appropriate manner the proposals made by HPCEO concerning the executive directors remuneration and their employment contracts. 4 marks. Finally, CEO would like you to assist in her preparing a presentation of the executive directors about how leadership by the executive board can help in promoting her program of changes. Prepare one slide and supporting notes for the CEO to present to the HP executives directors which advise on the quality of leadership they need to show in order to introduce her proposed program of changes successfully. 8 marks. So total 42 marks in task 1. So here technical marks were for the object of requirement with verbs suggesting the answer should be structured around the contextual features and around the proposed program of changes. The term contractual features in the given in the study guide to SBL linked to the Balagan and Hope Halley model. Using the model would have helped to generate ideas, and a significant number of candidates structured their answers using the model. The preamble to the requirement reinforced the need for candidates to focus on discuss organizational contextual issues. Few candidates did not use the method model but categorized the internal feature in other ways. Some scored good marks doing this. Where the Balagan and Hope's Halley model was used to generate ideas, some aspects were covered which were more often than others. Many candidates stressed the need for continued adherence to the charity objectives, particularly the conservation of buildings. A lot of scripts discuss the capability of employee and volunteers to adopt change and their readiness to do so. Whether HP the financial resources to implement change was also covered frequently. Other aspects were discussed less often. Factors affecting the scope of the changes other than HP's continuation and charity law were rarely mentioned. Few candidates considered whether diversity of the previous experience of employees would facilitate change or whether HP or the employees' previous experience change. There was also little consideration of the time scale of change. The proposed program would not be fully implemented. Power was also not discussed often. While candidates may have assumed that CEO had the ability to implement changes as part of the remit of her role, in practice the trustees would also be significant figures providing necessary support for the CEO. Changes were unpopular. Like the other, power of opposition from stakeholders would need to be considered if changes were expected to unpopular. For all categories of the model, candidates often limited the marks that they could gain for developing points by describing the features but saying later or nothing about how they would have impact on the implementation of the CEO program of change. Many candidates were not organized around the contextual features. It is likely that some candidates failed to recognize contextual features as part of the section H of the syllabus. Okay, candidates are reminded that topics from the section H are tested regularly and they must give themselves sufficient time to learn and revise the part of the syllabus. Okay, overall here number of other models were also used occasions. The cultural web provided useful notes, but other models have Porter 5 forces and diamond were of limited use. Some candidates used pastel, which were not helpful as meant and focus on external environmental features rather than internal contextual features. With all these approaches, marks were awarded when contextual features were discussed, but marks were often low as the contextual features were not the main focus of the answer and candidates wasted time in produce content that was not required. So, what are the main weaknesses? Failing to focus on contextual internal organizational factors affecting changes, providing discussion which was not required, for example, benefits and drawbacks of the program of change, lacking depth in knowledge of contextual factors, in particular, not being clear on their significance for the introduction of the CEO's program of the change, concentrating on a small number of contextual factors, in particular, employees and staff, and reporting material in relation to them. Now, see, there were the technical marks. 1B were generally covered the issues relating to the CEO proposal, although the few answers missed out one of the proposals. Skepticism was awarded. Professional skills indicate candidates would be expected to make criticisms. However, the questions was discussed, indicating that candidates should cover positives as well negative aspects of the proposal, but some candidates limited their marks by only criticizing them. Now, what are the weaknesses over here? Posing questions to the CEO rather than making their clear statements, not discussing any positive points about the proposals, okay, not clearly developing criticisms to show clearly what the problems were with the proposals, repetition of points between the proposals, for example, impacts of the donors' views of HP. Okay, now 1C. It seemed that more candidates failed to answer 1C than other task part in the exam. Possibly some candidates did not think they could say much and felt that they could miss it out without doing too much damage to their chances of passing, as it was for only 8 marks. Now, what were the weaknesses? Failing to provide what the requirements asked, lacking knowledge of what leadership qualities were. Seriously? Not discussing leadership qualities in the context of introducing change, failure to refer to HP's circumstances show how leadership qualities could address issues arising at HP. Okay. Then, wow, the CEO would like a comparison of the performance of the two of the HP most important A sites, Stowater and Trueworth. Both sites are castles which are around 400 years old and have almost identical characteristics. Their cafes are the same size and both sites shops stock at the same items. The COS has provided you with performance information about the two sites and wants you to make a detailed comparison of the two sites. Recent performance, she does not want you to carry out further calculations. Income allocated to the site's membership and donations has been ignored. So we have to prepare a report for the executive board which compares the financial and non-financial performance of the two sites and discuss the reasons for, implications of the results of the comparison between them. Professional skills are available for analysis by considering relevant information relating to the financial and non-financial performance of the two sides, implications of the differences in the performance between them. 4 marks for the professional skills, total 22. So the chair of the HP's audit committee ask your firm to undertake working relating to the aspects of the HP operations and are covered in the annual report on internal control and risk management. One of your team has produced a summary of his recent visits to review operating processes at the tour of HP shops. Prepare briefing notes for HP's audit committee which assess the risk relating to the shop operations. Recommended actions should be addressed there. Risk identified, 14 marks. Okay, professional skill marks are available for demonstrating evaluation skills by assessing objectives, the risk identified relating to the shop operation, and the making appropriate recommendations for addressing this risk. 4 marks. So this task was a strongly differentiator between candidates, and the standard of analysis varied significantly. There were a number of poor answers. Candidate just produced the numbers given in the exhibit 2 or merely said that one side was doing better or worse than the other, or the figures were up or down compared with the previous year. Few candidates said a number of times that further information was required rather than commenting on the information given. Now let's see the main weaknesses. Describing how figures had changed rather than providing an explanation for changes. Not considering underlying factors impacting on the figures given. Excessively focus on the single reason as the explanation for most of the differences. Task 2B. This task was generally answered well. Okay, good. With the number of candidates scoring full technical and professional marks, candidates appear to be using well what they had previously learned for the audit and assurance exam. Okay. Weaknesses: failing to define what the risks were, failing to suggest sections that were clearly required in the relation to inventory, over focus on the possibility of fraud by volunteers. As expected. Task 3. The CEO wants HP to make use of the e-marketing to raise funds. Part of her program of changes, she would like you to recommend how e-marketing can be used effectively in fundraising. She is also aware of recent concerns raised in the media about methods used by the charity to raise funds. She has supplied you with a link to a blog which covers these issues. Prepare briefing notes for HP Executive Board which recommend how HP can effectively use e-marketing to attract and retain suppliers, and advise how HP can address the concerns raised in the blog about unethical fundraising. 14 marks. And finally, professional skill marks are available for demonstrating commercial acumen by showing answer of the how e-marketing be used effectively by HP to attract and retain suppliers, and how the concerns raised in the blog about unethical fundraising can be addressed. 4 marks. Now the first part of the task about using e-marketing methods to attract and retain supporters was generally answered quite well. Good. Candidates structured their answer around different e-marketing methods or around general considerations about both approaches scored good markers. Sometimes the 6 I's were used to structure answers. Some candidates applied the 6 I's well to HP circumstances. Okay. E-marketing questions, weaker candidates just listed the 6 I's with little or more mention of HP. Now, what are the main weaknesses? Discussing e-marketing methods without showing how they would improve relationships with suppliers. Wasting time discussing benefits of e-marketing other than improving relationships or marketing methods that were specifically e-marketing. Discussing in detail concerns raised about marketing by charities when the requirement asks about how to address the concern. Wasting time recommending actions that would address concerns that had not been raised, failing to cover the concerns raised in the exhibit in a systematic manner so that some obvious recommendations were missed. So that was the the summary of this examiner report. uh, that's it. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments, and or you can contact me on this given WhatsApp number. That's it for now. Bye bye.